Rachael Maskell is our guest speaker. Rachel's been Labour MP for York Central constituency since the 2015 election and is currently Shadow Minister for Digital, Culture, Media and Sport, and has worked in the Transport Brief. Born in Winchester in Hampshire, Rachael gained a degree in physiotherapy from the University of East Anglia, which led on to a 20-year career in the National Health Service. When she started work in the hospital, Rachael soon became a trade union rep, later progressing to become the regional and then national official for Unite. In her national role, Rachael led Unite's equality agenda, campaigning against discrimination and for the equal pay, and later spending a number of years organising the union's members in the charity sector. Since her election to Parliament, Rachael has held a handful of shadow ministerial posts, including the Shadow Rail Minister between 2017 and 20, during which time she worked with TSSA on several occasions. Known as a hard-working and a highly respected politician, research by the Press Association has recently found that Rachael asked 3,349 questions of government ministers, the highest of any MP in the period between December 2019 and early March this year, and only about 25 less than Luke's asked me over the years. Louis, well, that should be changed. Rachael, I invite you to address TSSA's annual conference. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mick, and it's a real pleasure to come here today. And when I was asked, I leapt at that opportunity, not least knowing what a special year it is for you. So congratulations on your 125th anniversary. It's a real honour being here, not least on the heels of a debate I've just held in Parliament, reimagining rail and transport into the future. And as I debated the future of rail, I challenged Parliament about the opportunities that lay before it. But this conference is a great opportunity for us to look forward as we celebrate those 125 years. As the National Association of General Rail Clerks met here in Sheffield in 1897, they would have carried the hope in the hearts of changing things for the good of its members. As the centuries turned, registering as a trade union, working towards improving workers' rights and their members' pay, one of the first unions to admit women, and in 1910 affiliating to our Labour Party to take the challenge to the establishment on behalf of working people. As a leading union behind the 1947 Transport Act, nationalising our transport system, the TSSA has always been at the forefront, and of course becoming the TSSA in 1951. What an incredible history. What a future lies before you. One can be so proud of what has gone before us, and I am certainly proud of this union, and our movement is too. So I'm pleased to be celebrating with you today. Many of the challenges 125 years ago are not out of step of those confronting us today. Pay not enough, safety needing improvement, flexibility around working a must, and discrimination need challenging, bullying needs stopping, and well-being at work needs supporting. But with the advancements that we have seen in the 1.25 centuries, since the breadth of what members are now calling for, the challenges grow ever more. As the climate is now insisting, a new generation of transport is demanding investment. If it is to bring about the connectivity, reliability, safety and sustainability that we know it must. If we are serious about our economy, we need to ensure that transport provides the opportunities to every community and everyone to get work, education, and of course, for those vital things of leisure and connection. And if we want to ensure that the transport sector continues to attract the very best talent and skills, then it is imperative that we invest in the system and invest in you. As I set out in my debate in Parliament, a vision for the future of rail and a new transport supercluster which is emerging in York, how vital it is for rail, active travel, automation and safety coming together, creating an opportunity for a new generation of good quality, well-paid jobs, for the UK to level up with the very best in the world, and for us to envisage a future export market of our technologies and our know-how in high-end engineering, in operations and planning. If these transport modes are then intersected, we can build an end-to-end transport system, home to destination. It is possible and it's exciting. But we need to have the jobs and opportunity to do this. If we don't do this here in the UK, we will simply end up consuming the products of other countries, which is an affront to what we could achieve. For me, it is about jobs, and it's always about jobs, good paid jobs, and using the immense experience and talent that we have. As we tackle automation and the advance of technology, and that is a very real issue for us all, there is no excuse to lay people off or replace people with machines, but an opportunity to upskill and ensure that our workers, the people with the know-how, are at the very forefront of the transport revolution. I know that we are better. We really could be the very best, and I want us to draw all of that talent as we muster our way forward in the transport sector as we build it for the future. Of course, having Great British Railways in York will be the icing of the cake. Where else can it go? And don't challenge me on that, because York it must be. After all, York made the railways and the railways made York. If it goes anywhere else, it will be an add-on. But in York, it will consolidate that transport cluster, which will be greater than the sum of the parts. More jobs, more opportunities. A change in the name, however, from Network Rail to GBR must not just be an excuse to cut jobs, to slim down the organisation or to outsource. It must provide the very planning, infrastructure and operations on which our whole transport system is built. However, investment in planning, infrastructure and operations is one thing, but if you do not invest in the staff, then there is a serious price to pay. And I back you 100% as you make the case for better terms, better security and better pay. Whether working in transport or travel, it's been really tough. Whether a storm you've had to weather, a time that you probably want to move on from, but it has been a challenge. Who was it that got up every day, put on their uniform and worked? Who was it that suffered and sacrificed? Who was it that gave their all to keep our country working, goods and people moving and kept people safe? It was you. I know because I spoke to many of you. And tragically, some paid the ultimate sacrifice. Belly Mujinga was just doing her job, as many were. Her passing put a spotlight on the cost of this pandemic to those that did what was necessary, to you, your colleagues, your comrades, key workers, and is the reason why people working across the transport sector must be heard and must be respected. You can be clapped one day, but you should not be sacked the next. You can't be promised a pay rise as you risk your all and then find out it's 0%. You can't get up in the middle of the night or go home late in the evening if someone isn't making sure that you are safe. And you can't have shift changes that simply do not work for you. And when it comes to fire and rehire, no boss should ever get away with sacking British workers. Therefore, it is a disgrace that government are now out on the attack, wanting to downsize and dumb down the transport sector and its staff. We must resist cuts in jobs, cuts in pay, and cuts in the standards of living. They too promised you more. I remember they said they were the party of the workers. Well, at this Parliament starts up again next week. Let's hold them to account with that. Better terms, better pay and better safety. We're heading for a very challenging time. Cost of living going through the roof, an energy crisis, a housing crisis, an NHS crisis, a climate crisis. They all have one thing in common. They're a result of the political choices of this Tory administration. In power for 12 years, austerity, cuts, and making working people pay. And now we are seeing our country run by a band of capitalists, cronies, and crackpots. They cheat, they lie, and are as corrupt as hell. They have abandoned everyone bar themselves. Pensioners taking away the triple lock, public servants going without a pay increase for years, people on benefits, pushing people at their time of need into poverty. It's a disgrace. On Thursday, they had their first kicking, and I thank all of you for playing your part, leafleting, knocking on doors, and voting. The Labour link matters. We will never improve the lot of working people if the trade unions don't help pull this lot down. In every community, we all have a huge responsibility to put the spotlight on what is happening and get the message out. The stakes are high. If the Tories win the next election, God forbid, I shudder to think what will happen. This Parliament has seen the taking away of your rights to protest, further dumbing down of campaigning around elections, a passport to infiltrate trade unions, and the threat to sack 200,000 health and care workers if they didn't have their jabs. The conditioning of people, the suppression is suffocating. Each announcement a step towards the chilling state of a repressive regime. I say this because I want to warn you. Know your history. It doesn't end well. Perhaps the most stomach-churning event came just weeks ago as they announced they'll deport people to Rwanda, refugees who have fled terror to this place without any choice themselves, to a country that doesn't uphold human rights, persecutes LGBT plus people, and only offers a one-way ticket out there. It's chilling. 12,000 Afghans now cooped up in hotels across the country, having their mental health destroyed as they have no recovery from the terror they fled from the Taliban. Ukrainians, desperate for safety, having to jump through hoops to come to the UK. These are our brothers and sisters, and we must fight for them. But it isn't just foreign nationals. Their draconian regime permeates all of our communities up and down the country. It is 2022, for goodness sake. We're one of the richest countries in the world, and people are queuing at food banks, ramping up debt, and being evicted from their homes. What comes in no longer stretches to pay the bills. It may be many of the members you represent. In my surgery this week, I was talking to a woman who never can afford to put the heating on, has to plan when to have a shower, and picks up food from the food bank that doesn't have to be cooked. If the next government is Tory, many will not survive. It has to change. But this week, while making great progress in Labour Wales under Mark Drayford, a committed socialist who is really doing remarkable things in his country, Labour here had little to boast about. Outside of London, we regressed, not advanced. And while we picked up some councils and councillors, the Lib Dems got 3 times more in England. The Greens got even more than Labour. It's said that an election called tomorrow will still see the Tories in power. It's said that Labour needs to get its act together. It's said that Labour cannot get over the line unless it changes. We know it cannot get over the line until the trade unions are put back at the heart of the party again and given the opportunity to set the agenda. Labour's secret has always been the unions, one that I'm proud to wear. People working in every job across the economy, doing the work, seeing the opportunities, having the knowledge and know-how, and most definitely having the ideas. Now is not the time to retreat and be disgruntled. Now is the time to press in and fight. After all, we have always been in a fight for people's rights, the advancement of society and a better future. That is why we set up the party, the Labour Party, 122 years ago. It's in the title, Labour. It's about workers. It was a vehicle for working people to have a say, to see change and have a chance and have a future. We need health workers setting out how we're going to repair our broken NHS. We need job centre workers reimagining a fair social security system. We need teachers setting out how our young people's talent can be nurtured. And we need transport workers determining the future of our transport systems. And my goodness, we need a union like the TSSA, committed and organised, pulling it all together. I want to see your ideas and policies in the next Labour manifesto, and I want to see you on those green benches after the next election. The agenda to be radical, transformative, to do our politics proud, to be the agenda that the very people of our country are crying out for. If you want to see change, as Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. You need to be that change. To bring that change, we need you more than ever. Over the last 125 years, members and reps, branches across our movement, our leaders have moved forward. From this progressive union, it has ignited the hope of workers across our movement and across our country. As you look forward this week at your conference, you are building on very strong foundations laid by generations of transport workers before you. The future is in your hands. The future is in this room, and the future is in this union. This week, do not hold back. Dare to fight, dare to dream, and dare to believe.